Welcome to the Oasis State podcast. Cheers for tuning in. This podcast is dedicated to educating and empowering women to step into their self-love infused power. As a woman, there are so many nuances that influence our relationship with self. Join me as I share my personal experiences with and deep understanding of mindset development, energetics, and self-mastery. I will help you deconstruct societal conditioning and your own outdated beliefs through a lighthearted, playful lens of perception. I will introduce you to tools that will help you redefine your interaction with life, powerfully manifest your wildest dreams, and enjoy every step along the way. Let this podcast guide and support you as you make the commitment to remember your magic within. This is your self-empowerment pep talk. Hello, gorgeous soul, and welcome to the Oasis State podcast. My name is Zoe Rose Carey, and I'm your host. So, guys, I want to be upfront with you and completely honest from the get-go. I am recording this podcast from my home office, and I'm currently sitting at my desk with a huge blanket draped over me and the laptop and a lamp so I can see what I'm doing. May potentially even be a fire hazard with this lamp, but let's roll with it. I've done a lot of trial and error throughout the house and a lot of research online about how to record a podcast or your voice with the best quality, without echoes, etc. And this is the best that I can do right now. So it's not a studio quality podcast, but hey, we've all got to start somewhere. And I was just absolutely itching to get going with this. This podcast has been a dream of mine for about over a year now. When I log on to the podcast program that I'm recording through, I can see the dates that I've come on in the past year or so and tried to record something, and then fear's gotten in the way and I've walked away from the project and not come back. So I just wanted to rip off the Band-Aid, sit down, record a podcast, get it out there, and then over time I can figure it out because, I'm just a human. I'm figuring it out as I go. So fingers crossed I've been able to get rid of all of the background noise. My voice is clear, doesn't have too much of an echo. And at the end of the day, it's just, I want my message to be received. So hopefully you guys can move through the lack of quality and listen to the message. So without further ado, let's get started. This podcast is designed to educate and empower women as we dive into understanding our mindset, energetics, and self-mastery. I found that women can be put off by the concept of power or confused by it. We have been really conditioned to believe that to be powerful, it is unfeminine or unattractive. And it is my experience that this could not be further from the truth. So a self-assured, empowered woman who is in control of her life draws in like a magnet. She's so filled with positive energy that people want to be around her. The truth is that love and power go together. With power, one can really begin to open up their heart, and with no power, love is really distorted. The journey to self-love and empowerment is one that is really close to my heart. It is a daily practice of accountability, action, compassion, and alignment. And that brings me to the why I've started this podcast. There are so many nuances, especially for women, that influence our relationship with self and our ability to tap into our innate self-love infused power. I wanted to start this podcast as a way to guide and connect with other beautiful women who have dedicated themselves to pushing through the fear and self-doubt to achieve their wildest desires, and has figured out that that is less frightening than living with the underlying fear that comes from feeling helpless. I've been on this journey unconsciously for my whole life. I am probably actively and consciously on this journey for the last 10 years. It can be disorientating, stagnant, and lonely when you're navigating it on your own. So I wanted this podcast to serve as an inspiration and a companion for other women committed to remembering their magic within. So I hope it can do exactly that. I'll now introduce myself. As I mentioned, my name is Zoe Rose Carey. I am a women's empowerment mentor. I've only been doing it for a few months, and it has just been the most fulfilling, wildest experience ever. It's something I've been wanting to do for a really long time. I've been doing one-on-one sessions and taking groups of women through online group mentorship programs, and it's just Oh, it's beyond my wildest dreams what I'm doing, and I just this podcast for me is a way to reach more people and hopefully make more of a difference and more of a positive impact because from my pain, I've been able to turn it into power, and I just want to help guide every woman, get out of to help them get out of their own way, you know? So, I wasn't born with effortless, self-love and confidence. I didn't really have a childhood that was totally supportive of, um, you know, a setting to inspire me to set goals and achieve them and go after them. I wasn't, the boys and men around me at the time weren't really uplifting me. I didn't have empowered women around me, and that's no disrespect to anyone from my past. It's just the way that it was. And in the last few years, yeah, I'd say a few years, this movement and this momentum has started with women, and we're done. We're frustrated. We're ready to step back into our power. And stepping back into your power is a completely unique definition for every woman. So my aim, or I hope my purpose, is to help women find that unique code within themselves, which is laced with love and power and wisdom to how to align with that, how to recognize that within themselves and move forward. So, yeah, I think as I mentioned, my personal active journey, this active self love journey, started around 10 years ago when I was absolutely riddled with self doubt and anxiety after yet another horrible unconscious relationship had ended. I was giving my time and energy to a man that clearly didn't respect me, and I basically just had this set line sorry, what's it called? Line in the sand moment of thinking, "Why the fuck is the quality of my day, the quality of my emotional state, the quality of my experience with life affected by some dickhead?" No, sorry, a little bit too far. Some guy that doesn't really care about me or doesn't really know much. Like, we just, as women, outsource our power all the time, and in my situation, I was doing that in romantic relationships. So had this line in the sand moment. I was like, no, I'm not going to let external circumstances affect my internal state of being. And from there, it started the most beautiful, disorientating at times journey of self discovery, self mastery, my journey back to self love, my journey of self empowerment, my journey of self accountability, just my relationship with self. I think I've said self enough times for you to realize that it's a relationship with yourself. So, yeah, it was really cool. At the time, I decided to make this change or dive a bit deeper. Um, I wasn't really in an environment that was very supportive of that. So, just say I went out and got a self help book. I wouldn't keep it on my bookshelf. I was really embarrassed of it. I'd have it like under my pillow or in the cupboard or something like that. So, no, again, no disrespect to anyone I was around at the time, but as you begin this journey, it doesn't mean that your community, your external environment, or anything is going to instantly reflect that beautiful, juicy sense of power and love that you start aligning with. So, that's another reason why I wanted to start this podcast, because I wanted it to serve as a companion for people that are just at the beginning of this journey. I also feel like this podcast will serve women that are years and years down their journey, or lifetimes and lifetimes along the way on their journey, because we've all got something to gain, we've all got different perspectives, and we've all got something to learn from each other. So, yeah, the start of my personal self mastery journey was quite lonely and quite confusing. But I would just had this obsession with understanding who I am and how I'm interacting with life. It's just like this light bulb moment. And I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you've had it. It's just this shift, absolute shift within you of like, okay, whoa, I create my reality. How am I doing this? How do I do it more efficiently? How do I get out of my way? And so on and so forth. Like I mentioned, I was never really taught or encouraged to set goals for myself. It was more about, I wasn't sculpting a life, I was just being served a life through horrible conditioning and misaligned opportunities. But from my scarcity mindset, I just took whatever was in front of me. I would definitely say I've always been an ambitious person. I have 2 degrees in science. So I've got a degree in exercise science, so I understand the body and I love that. And I also have a science degree in marine biology, which is a huge passion of mine and quite close to my heart. So I always tell people I get to understand the body and I get to understand nature, and it's really incredible, the similarities that these 2 degrees have made me realize that we have between obviously being human and being nature. And obviously, it's very, very obvious that we are a part of nature, but I just feel like there is quite a disconnect with that. So I've always been quite an ambitious person, but it wasn't like it was like things weren't totally aligned for me. So I experienced a lot of confusion. I experienced a lot of burnout. I just had no purpose and no fulfillment, if that makes sense. So I was always ambitious, but I just didn't know how to fine tune my desires. I didn't even know how to tap into my desires and pleasures, if that makes sense. So yeah, my own personal spiritual journey on the side of my professional experience has kind of laid the foundation for me to finally get my shit together a few years ago and yeah, and decide to start this business. And it's been the most cathartic, expansive experience ever, and I wouldn't change any of it. Um, I just feel like I get to channel what I've learned, and I just wanna help women do that faster, if that makes sense, or maybe feel more supported, like a sense of recognition or belonging while they're doing that. Because whether it was my own self-imposed, barriers and walls I put up, I just was very alone, felt very alone in this journey, and like I said, it might have been something that I was doing, but I just don't want anyone to feel like that. So it's really incredible when you've experienced a lack or a sense of pain in your life and you just don't want anyone else to feel like that. So, a lot of pain turns to passion and purpose, and that's definitely what's happened for me in my life. Um, yeah, so I just wanted to share my journey and what I'm learning now as an empowerment mentor, in the hope that it provides you with some clarity and guidance on your own journey. Because, yeah, we don't have to do this alone. And honestly, the transformation I've had from my previous life, before self mastery and after self mastery, has just been absolutely phenomenal. And I just want it for everyone. And I don't even mean the external things like financial time and location freedom and my beautiful conscious partner and the beautiful home I live in and everything. It's none of that is worth shit if you don't have a beautiful relationship with yourself. I That kind of comes back to the name Oasis State. The name of my mentoring business is Oasis is described as this beautiful, relaxing little refuge in like a desert or very scarce environment. So our inner oasis or our oasis state of being is when you align with that beautiful, rejuvenating, luxurious, thriving refuge within inside yourself. And then from there, you start creating this world, making changes, upgrading, letting go, everything from that beautiful oasis. So that's kind of where the name Oasis State came from, is just that play on my experience with the self mastery journey of creating this oasis within myself, coming from a very desert, scarce like environment beforehand, and it's just the most empowering, uplifting experience ever. So, yeah, throughout this podcast, I want to dive into my personal experiences, experiences I've had with others, different tools and techniques that have helped me along the way. Some of them are coming to mind off the top of my mind right now. Include mindset development and understanding our subconscious capacity. Oh my God, I could go on for that forever. So I'll definitely be doing an episode on that. I love understanding our energetics. I'm hugely into developing your emotional intelligence. I feel we walk around as a society absolutely terrified of our emotions, but they're actually our friends, they're a tool, and they're an ally. So I love developing my emotional intelligence and encouraging those around me to do the same. It just reduces a lot of suffering, really. And yeah, as I mentioned, energetics. So I am a Reiki practitioner myself as well. I'm obsessed with understanding energy and aura. And that includes as well, obviously, universal energy, and that comes to universal guidance, universal laws. So just, the most popular one that's out there is the law of attraction. But there's actually 12 immutable laws. So immutable means they're there whether we like them or not. They can't be changed. They can't be anything. So they're just there. There's 12 different laws to abide by, and by understanding this, it kind of just creates so much flow, ease, and alignment in our day-to-day experience and on our journey to achieving our desires and aligning with the life that we want. I love understanding the universal language of synchronicities and signs. They definitely help you in those darker moments when you're just feeling so lost and confused. But what's that saying? The sky is darkest before the horizon. That happens to me all the time. I'm just completely lost and confused. And the beautiful, gorgeous universe is just sending me so many signs. And then, like, say the next day or like 5 minutes later, something will shift. And it's absolutely incredible. So, I'm really keen to share how I've connected with my own unique language with the universe and how to develop yours. So I'll definitely do an episode on that. Just spiritual practices in general. So my personal background comes from spiritual and personal development mentoring or practices or teachings. Yeah, for a lack of a better word. So yeah, I want to dive into all of those different areas. I love human design. Human design has absolutely saved my life. If you don't know what that is, I'll definitely do an episode on that, kind of highlighting that for you. If you do know human design, I am a projector, which just made a huge difference for me coming from a huge difference for me understanding that coming from a very workload heavy, toxic productivity, masculine energy environment of university. As I mentioned, my 2 university degrees, which were I did over 9 years. And then I also worked as a marine biologist, so an academic researcher as well. And now I understand I'm a projector. I realize that that definition of success, that of that environment that I spent almost a decade in, was just completely out of alignment for myself. So yeah, just all of these little things that I've learned along the way, and things that I now teach with my clients or I learn from my community, I want to share on this podcast just to, as I've mentioned, reach a wider audience and help anyone that's just not taking no for an answer. No one, and the women out there that don't want to settle, like, we are absolutely the powerful creators of our reality. And I just want to share what I'm learning with other people, just as a way to guide and educate. Deconditioning, like understanding what conditioning and deconditioning is, and healthy deconditioning practices has been so beneficial for me. Um, understanding fear and practices around how to move through that have been really amazing for me too. And yeah, nothing else is really coming to mind now. I'm just kind of spitballing them off the top of my head, but I just really want this podcast to be full of juicy inspiration, guidance. I want it to be a companion. I want to create connections with my beautiful listeners, just create a community, and just that whole vibe that we don't have to do this alone, and that you are seen and recognized even in the smaller moments. This journey is so personal for me, obviously, because it's my personal journey. But it's loving yourself even once you've pushed through that barrier of shifting to being, say, a positive thinker, or understanding your mindset, or not controlling, like utilizing your energetics properly. You kind of break through that first barrier, but you need to have a maintenance program after that too. And for me, it's a daily thing. Like, if I go a day or even a few days without my practices, or that space, if I need solitude or just not listening to what I want for a few days, I am a completely different Zoe. Oh my gosh. I'm weepy, I'm fragile, I'm letting every tiny little thing in my external environment completely flip me upside down 50 times a day. And it is just so exhausting. So even for someone that's been so well versed and committed to this journey for so long, you're always walking kind of, it's not straying off your path. It's you being off your path is actually you still being on your path, but it's about learning how to have that self-awareness, how to have tools, and I like to call it an ecosystem of practices, rituals, teachings, understandings, community, etc., around you to help you go back into alignment. So even yeah, as I mentioned, even when you're not in alignment, you are still actually on your path to being the best version of yourself if you have consciously chosen to do that. But in my personal experience, there's days where you're just like, oh my God, everything I've worked towards, every moment of, internal shifting and focus and whatever I've done is completely invalid and doesn't work anymore. But it's just not the case. So I want to teach you guys kind of mechanisms or strategies to help you understand that and bring yourself back on your path because self-awareness and self-compassion are so important too. So yeah. I can't really think of anything else much to say right now. I was a bit unwell last week, so you might hear me wheezing a little bit, but I just had to get this out here. I just have to do this. Like, I just wanted to record this episode and get this season out there. And I hope it's been enough to encourage you to continue listening. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my podcast. This is a huge moment for me and the start of something really, really beautiful. It just yeah, it feels really nice within me to be doing this. So, yeah, listening to my body, listening to my energetics, and knowing my body is saying "fuck yes" to this is really important. But I'm going to call it here so I can catch my breath. And thank you so much, guys. I will see you on the next episode of the Oasis State podcast. Until then, sending all my love.